As a consulting expert, one of the most common issues I help legal teams with is understanding their independent expert's report. Even though I can and do help my clients understand what their expert is trying to say, an expert report that you can't understand is a problem. Because if you don't understand it, odds are a judge won't either. So today's question, what do you do if you don't understand your expert's report? Even if you select an expert who communicates well, there's still a chance their report may be difficult to understand. But the good news is, if this happens and you've selected the right expert, it's entirely fixable. The first and most important thing for you to do is to give your expert feedback. One of the greatest challenges of giving expert evidence is explaining complex technical matters to non-technicians. Doing it royal requires simplifying concepts so that they are understandable, but not so much so that they lose their accuracy or become unreasonably imprecise. It also means speaking to the audience on their level, but without being condescending. And it means introducing and explaining the technical concepts that are necessary to understand the basis for the opinion, but not so many that the reader becomes confused. Even with the best of intentions, your expert might not pitch their topic at the right level. They aren't a lawyer or a judge normally. They won't always understand what concepts you'll already be familiar with or intuitively understand, and which ones you won't. This is where the legal team can, and in my view, should help. But I found two things sometimes hold lawyers back from giving this kind of feedback. For some lawyers, saying they don't understand something can be very uncomfortable, especially if that something is something that seems basic to someone else. But in areas where you require an expert, someone with specialised knowledge, it's perfectly understandable that things that seem basic to them are entirely new to you. Keep in mind that a judge is going to be approaching this probably from the same background as you. And if you, who has likely already had conversations with the expert, still can't understand what they're trying to say in their report, what hope is your judge going to have? The second thing that can hold back that feedback is wanting to protect an expert's impartiality. But as long as you're asking for clarification or simplification, not a change of opinion, feedback shouldn't be something that causes an issue. If after giving that feedback you still haven't quite solved the problem, you might need to remind your expert what their role is. Expert evidence is about having specialised knowledge, and for some practitioners, this is the part of being an expert that they enjoy the most, in their minds being the smartest person in the room. This can lead to some experts showing off their knowledge, including overusing technical terms and jargon, introducing topics that aren't really relevant to the opinion, or insisting that their opinion is just about topics that are too complex for you to understand and they couldn't possibly simplify it. If your expert is showing those signs, then it's time for a frank conversation about what their primary duty is, and that is to assist the court, as you probably know. In other words, they need to be helpful, not just right. If you've had that conversation and you are still struggling, it might be time to consider whether your expert actually has specialised knowledge. While Einstein never actually said it, there is a lot of truth behind the saying that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. An inability to break down concepts into digestible parts might indicate that the expert doesn't actually understand the concepts properly themselves. And this highlights one of the dangers of relying too heavily on credentials when you are selecting an expert. A degree or certification is often just evidence that the holder could pass an exam or prepare an assignment. It's no guarantee that they fully understood the concepts or that they still hold that knowledge. It's probably not actually even necessary to figure out whether they genuinely have specialised knowledge, because to be honest, if they can't use it to be helpful, then that's a fundamental failing to you and in their duty to the court. If you're struggling with understanding your expert report, it might also be worth a discussion with a consulting expert who can help you give your independent expert the right feedback. So next time you don't understand your expert's report, time for a bit of feedback.